Welcome, dear one. Tonight, we embark on a journey into the quiet, forgotten corners of childhood, where abandoned dolls rest, keying for their stories to be heard once more. Their soft fabric, delicate features, and time-worn expressions whisper tales of love, laughter, and loss. As we explore these treasured relics, let the gentle background music and hushed narration guide you into a world where memory and imagination intertwine. Each doll holds a past, a life once cherished, now left behind. Tonight, we give them voices, bringing forth the echoes of forgotten lullabies and bedtime stories. Perhaps you will recognize a story similar to your own. Our first doll this evening is Eleanor, the train companion. Let us meet our first her. Look closely. Her porcelain face, now slightly cracked, was once smooth and radiant under the glow of a child's love. Her curls, though slightly frayed, were once carefully brushed by tiny hands. The lace of her dress, now fragile, still holds the scent of the past. Imagine, if you will, a young girl in the 1930s, clutching this doll on a train ride across the country. Her name was Margaret, and Eleanor, the doll, was a gift from her father, a keepsake as he left for war. Eleanor was more than a doll. She was a protector, a comfort during lonely nights, a reminder of home. Every stitch in her dress, every mark upon her face, tells a piece of that tale. Margaret whispered secrets to Eleanor as the train rolled on, her tiny fingers tracing the patterns on Eleanor's dress. When her father returned, he found Eleanor still cradled in his daughter's arms, a silent witness to all the years that had passed. Listen closely. Can you hear the whispered goodnight from decades ago? Next, we uncover another lost soul, Thomas, the ragged guardian, a cloth-bodied doll with button eyes that gleam under the soft light. Thomas was once the beloved companion of a boy named Peter. Unlike many dolls, Thomas was never meant to be delicate. He was sewn together by Peter's grandmother during the Great Depression, crafted from scraps of fabric, filled with love and resilience. Thomas was Peter's first friend, his silent protector during thunderstorms, and the brave soldier in imaginary battles. Over time, Thomas's stuffing thinned, his seams loosened, and one of his buttons fell off. Yet Peter never abandoned him. But as childhood faded into adolescence, Thomas was placed on a shelf, then in a box, and finally, he was forgotten. Years later, when Peter's own grandson stumbled upon Thomas in the attic, he saw not an old, tattered toy, but a friend waiting to be held once more. The bond between child and doll had stretched across generations. See how his arms are slightly outstretched, as if still longing for an embrace? Even in stillness, he speaks. Meet Isabella, the ballroom dreamer. Dolls, like memories, are sometimes lost, tucked away in attics, left behind in forgotten places. Our next guest, Isabella, was once the pride and joy of a young girl named Evelyn in the 1950s. Dressed in a dazzling gown of blue satin, with painted eyelashes that seemed almost real. Isabella was not just a doll. She was a vision of elegance, a dream of grand ballrooms and graceful waltzes. Evelyn would spend hours dressing Isabella, dancing with her in front of a mirror, imagining a future filled with beautiful gowns and glittering chandeliers. She whispered to Isabella about the dances she would attend one day, the handsome partners who would twirl her across the floor. But childhood dreams shift, and Isabella was left behind as Evelyn grew into the real world. Decades later, Isabella still waits, her gown slightly faded, her painted lips still curved into a soft, knowing smile. What stories would she tell if only she could speak? would she whisper of twirls and pirouettes that never were. Our final doll in our journey tonight is different from the rest. Oliver, the storyteller, a wooden marionette, was never meant to be cuddled. With his carefully carved features and painted suit, he was once a performer in a traveling puppet show. The hands that once guided him belonged to a man named Giovanni, an Italian puppeteer who brought joy to children across Europe in the early 1900s. Oliver danced, told jokes, and enacted grand adventures under the flickering glow of stage lanterns. But when Giovanni grew old, his performances became fewer, and one day the show stopped altogether. Oliver was packed away, his strings tangled, his paint chipped, his laughter forgotten. One evening, long after Giovanni had passed, a young girl stumbled upon Oliver in a dusty old trunk. She pulled his strings gently, and for the first time in years, Oliver moved once more, his joints creaking like an old storyteller waking from a long slumber. Even now, in the stillness, Oliver waits, longing for an audience once more. Sleep tight, dear one.